Well, I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Could have just said Ant-Man 3, but you got to have Wasp in there, and all that, even though she was barely in it. It's not as that she was in it, but I mean. And the reason I watched it is because my phone lit up and it was Disney telling me, hey, we've got the movie on D Plus now. And D Plus is what they're striving for. Yeah. So the question really to answer, was it as bad as people said it was? Well, I'm going to go with not really. There's some bad stuff in it. It is easily the worst of the Ant-Man films, which Ant-Man 1 is really great. It's one of the best ones. I liked the Ant-Man films. I really liked more than the average MCU viewer. Those movies were always kind of kicked off to the side and not considered the best of MCU. But I thought Ant-Man was really good. And the second one, a lot of people, Wasp was sort of, kicking him in the balls and stuff like that. Not to the extent that I think people said. A lot of people just, I think, went way overboard with that. But it's understandable considering the woke era that we lived in, and I'm hoping is coming to an end. But the damage done is severe. And so it's sort of woke shell shock. You see a whiff of that, and oh man, the reaction is exacerbated because, of what's happened and what's been done, deliberately so, from this cult-like mindset. And there's a variety of other reasons and all that, but it takes too long to get into. So was this an example of that? To some extent, but not entirely. This just was not as good as the first two, and it's quite the drop-off. I understand going into the quantum realm, it was teased from the first movie, and really the integral part of it was its necessity for Endgame, where Scott Lang, is stuck in the quantum realm. He escapes, but time is different, so he's lost 5 years. For him, it was just a little bit, and he manages to escape the quantum realm again, which he did in the first movie. But anyway, he does, and he is the reason that the Avengers rally back together to change time and undo what Thanos had done. So, grievance number one for Ant-Man 3 is how Scott Lang is treated. He's the dad, and dads always get it right between the legs. Typically from females, from their lovers, their wives, their girlfriends, and their daughters. In this case, Scott's daughter. And then nobody backs him up. From this snotty daughter that disrespects him unnecessarily so. And yet the movie promotes her as if she's got a point to make, which she gets arrested early on because she was involved with a protest and got in a fight with police officers and got arrested and all that. Now, the concern was, there's homeless people because of the blip, and they don't really delve into it because the blip is just a disaster to their entire narrative. They did not think that through. It's not as horrific as it was utilized in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which the ethic of that is just destroys the whole thing. Where they're sympathetic with a mass murderer. That's the ethic of that show. They don't really do that here, but the actions of protest in the real world of late, a lot of people dead, a lot of damage, a lot of assaults. And they decide to make it virtuous in this. So that's not going to go over well. And is that one of those things that can kick you right out of the movie? Yes, it is. And right off the bat. So the movie's just started. Now Scott Lang is Paul Rudd. They're doing he's a comical character. That's how they've played him, and that's the way it goes. But he's her father, and he's in the right here. Now they have a dinner together after she comes home, and they're all together, and Hank and Janet are there, and Hope is there, and he goes on about how amazed he is with Hope and what she's done with the company, and Scott does this. He's written a book about his life, and it's very successful, and all that, and he's a big celebrity and a hero because he was a part of the Avengers that saved the planet from the evil of Thanos and all that, which is true. And they mock him for it. His daughter is like, you're not doing anything now. You know, again, kicked right out of the movie. And they all know better. Now, she wasn't around for the battles and everything, so, you know, she's just a dumb kid. But what's their excuse? And she just got out of jail for something stupid, and they're all like, oh, she's so great. Man. Yeah, Scott, what have you been doing lately? And he says, I saved the world. Oh, really, Scott? Oh, did you? Yeah, he did. Because when he got out of the quantum realm, he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what had happened. He finds out. He meets his daughter, who actually was more mature. In fact, I think the actress playing her was probably older than the one they got now, so they kind of fudged that. I don't know what the reasoning was for. And then the personality-wise, completely changed, where now she's a snotty kid and stuff. And there's going to be some teenage angst and rebellion with a father and that sort of thing. And some of those elements, yes, but... And they do come together later in the film, but they really did not handle this well and were disrespectful to Scott Lang and to a father. But the truth is, yes, he did. When he escaped and he got back, the Avengers were defeated. They had moved on, you know, and he's like, oh, no, we got to fix this. We got to do something and all this stuff. And he's thinking, you can manipulate time, can't you? And all that. And Tony Stark says, no, you can't do it. He doesn't want to hear it. He says, we lost. We have to accept it and move on. And he's gotten married. He has a daughter now, and that's what he's concerned about. But, of course, Scott Lang puts it in his head, and so he's like, how would you even do it? It's ridiculous. The time travel's impossible. I mean, I guess you could do this. And, oh, my God, I just made a time machine. So that's what happens. But without Scott Lang, it doesn't. The rest of them had given up. So, yes, Scott Lang saved the world. And that's the truth of it. And brought a lot of them, you know, Hope, Janet, and Hank, they got blipped. They were snapped away. He brought them back. So, show some goddamn respect. Meanwhile, of course, the whole plot, well, Cassie, well, she's so brilliant, she makes the device that gets them back into the quantum realm and all that. But they do explain this. She studied Hank's work. She had 5 years to do this. She, you know, wondered what happened to them and all this sort of thing. And as a result of this, she has an understanding, takes an interest in it. So then when Hank comes back, you know, he tutors her on this. Oh, well, this kid's really figuring this stuff out. This is great. And then so there you go. So that part of it, I'll give them that. It's far-fetched what the whole thing is. So, I mean, you know, yeah. So they go to the quantum realm, and then they discover why Janet is so opposed to it, of course, because she knew about Kang, and for whatever reason, she didn't tell them about it. Now, she could have told them that there was a serious menace there, and we have to hope, and would, because, I mean, Hank probably himself would want to explore quantum realm and whatnot. Oh, wait, he did. At the end of Antman and the Wasp 2, they showed the scene where everybody got snapped except Scott because he was in the quantum realm. So what were you studying? Oh, the quantum realm. So Janet, why didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, didn't say anything. So that's a mistake. You can see the movie's argument like it was so traumatic for her and she just never wanted to go back, and was the hopes that, you know, and she's back with her family now, and, you know, she doesn't want to ever have any potential for Kang escaping and that sort of thing. Well, okay, up to a point, but you really can't because you forgot the other movie you did, you know. Also that Scott Lang saved the world. You forgot that. Just so you can have mad at daddy scenes, which you're so obsessed with because, I don't know, I guess you're all Mad at your daddies. So anyway, the rest of it, I don't mind. I'm very forgiving of CGI. It's just a lot of it, they're doing it in the volume room or the green screen room, whatever. But it's just so obvious because it's just this wide field and stuff like that. Some shots, they didn't do well. Others, fine. It's a weird place. That sort of thing. Then they have the girl boss leader of the resistance to Kang, who kicks ass, even though she's doesn't look very strong to me. They may have done some makeup for the abs and everything, but anyway, I think she was based on this character from the Microverse, and they call it Quantum Realm, whatever, that the Hulk met, I believe. I think she was blonde and green in that one. She's not here. She's just sort of a Xena warrior princess wannabe and all that. But then Cassie, Scott's daughter, breaks her out of jail at one point, and she's like, "Wow, you're cool." Jonathan Majors as Kang does all right. He's, he functions well for the story and for its plot and everything. But all this stuff about praising him like, he's on par with Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix. And no! Plus, I don't even know if there's any opportunity for him to do that. But he does a fine job. But I don't think we'll be seeing much more. We see a lot of him here because, multiverse and all that. But due to his problems, I think that's probably already done. And it's too bad because the little teaser at the end where Loki shows up, because that's a teaser for his series. And he's telling Owen Wilson, "Hey, look, that's him. That's the guy." And he's another variant of Kang in the, 1800s or something. Anyway, so there's that. You do get another teaser, or before that one, that shows other versions of the Kang, and it's Rama Tut. If you know the story about Kang and how many different versions there have been, because he's time traveler and all that. Rama Tut was actually the first one that the Fantastic Four encountered. And then there's Immortus, who's supposed to be the oldest one and kind of mellowed with age, and that's not quite how he's kind of seen as the leader of all the variants or whatever. They have the Council of Kangs. And that there is a version of that in the comics I've seen from a time. There's so many different stories. And the other one I didn't really recognize. He wasn't in a red suit, so I don't guess he was supposed to represent the Red Centurion, which was another version of Kang. And if they ever get to the Young Avengers, well, the Iron Lad character will be revealed to have been a teenaged version of Kang. Yeah. No indication of his lineage as to whether or not he's a descendant of Reed Richards or Victor Von Doom. None of that. It would have been, if they'd had a plan and to reveal that the Fantastic Four were in the Quantum Realm, that would have been an interesting thing. But it's probably just as well that didn't happen. But I think they're going with the story. They'll be in the negative zone or some crap like that. But it would have been kind of cool that they would still be young, but because of the time differential, which they don't. They use it for the ants that go with them. The ants magically evolve into these superior beings who create their own civilization so that they can preach about socialism. Without, they're so stupid they don't understand. They just insulted it because socialism works great for insects. The whole society is built around a queen that poops out new ants while the rest of them do everything in service of her. They can eat the crumbs, but the food really goes to her. Yeah. Of course, when she dies, they all die. Yeah, that's not going to work for humanity because humanity, we're not insects. Besides, I thought you guys wanted us to eat them all. Anyway, so stupid crap like that kicks you right out of the film. Don't do that. You need people to be immersed in your film and your plot. Otherwise, why make it? Oh, right. It's supposed to be a campaign commercial or something. But anyway, so yeah, but they have that where, the ants went off in a different direction in the vortex to the quantum realm or whatever. And so the time differential was different for them. So they lived 1,000 years in a few seconds. Okay, sure. But of course, like with Scott, for him, it was only a couple of minutes. When he gets back, it's 5 years later in Endgame. Whereas here, they find a way to utilize Kang's technology, and I suppose that's some time shenanigans that Janet figures out, so they can open a portal and jump back to the real world, or the upper world, whatever you want to call it. And it's like they only had been gone a few minutes, so they didn't have to deal with all those problems that you ordinarily would. But anyway, the whole thing comes down to the flashbacks with Janet had helped Kang when he crashed there. He'd been exiled by his variants in their war with each other, and she helps him repair his ship, and then by touching it reads his mind. Now, I don't know, there could have been some other, like she found his personal log or diary and it revealed everything. Could have done that. But, you know, whatever. She had to discover he was not the nice guy she thought he was, and stops him by shrinking basically the warp core. And or not shrinking it, she exploded it. It became huge, and he couldn't collapse it back the way he needed to get out. So he conquers the whole quantum realm and all that. So because he's got his suit back after she helped him, so he's all powerful and all that. So now he makes the same deal with Scott and says, you know, I can manipulate time, you can have your life back, and you won't have lost the years with your daughter, which they didn't really stress that that's the problem, that his daughter and he don't get along or whatever. No, she's just being an ass. And that's it. Whereas Janet, in her situation, it made more sense that she could get back, and she was blaming herself. I lied to my daughter. Well, she didn't lie to her. She didn't know she was going to be trapped. You know. But he was offering, you know, I could fix it to where you're back the day you left, and you won't have lost that time with your daughter and your husband, which I noticed you never mentioned. Stuff like that. So Bill Murray's there, so and all that. But eventually, you know, he threatens Cassie, so Scott's got to do what he wants, and so there you go. You know, so he steals the sphere, the core, whatever it is. Kang gets it back. What does he do? I don't know. He kills some time, you know, and he's like, I'm going to bring my army with me, I guess. I don't know. He wants to capture Janet. He does. And, boy, he's just killing time, you know, pun intended. And then, well, the rebellion happens. They almost lose, but then the ants come in and save them all. Scott and Cassie become giants. All the shenanigans and whatnot. If he had just left, that's all he had to do. But at this point, Kang's just an idiot, I guess. I don't know. You know, it would have been interesting if they had done some bait and switch and the thing didn't work and they had the or something like that. But no, he had it, and oh well, they defeat him and smash things, and damn it, I can't escape now. And the ants damn near kill him, seemingly do. And then and then Janet says, "Hey, I think I figured out a way to get out." So even with the core smashed up and stuff, you can still do it, you know. So she opens the door, and I guess she figured out the time problems, and they leap through it. But Scott doesn't, because Kang shows up again. Oh, they get in a fight, and Hope comes back to save Scott, but the door closes, and they figure, oh well, we're stuck here, but at least we're together. And Kang gets shrunk down into the core, which again, would that really kill him? But anyway, because Scott did it. And that's another thing. He needed Scott to shrink down into the core to get it and to shrink it back to normal so that he could use it. You can't do that, Kang. You can't figure out that technology because he's got all this advanced stuff, and you can just steal it from him. You don't even have to threaten his daughter or nothing. Well, of course, it was dangerous to do because of the multiverse stuff, but then Kang's been through this. He's the one guy who could walk right in there and not be affected by it, because Scott almost loses his mind meeting all his different versions of himself. Hope goes in there to save him, of course, and she has a bunch of versions of herself sprouting off, but she just ignores them and sticks to her plan because, you know, she's better than him, because, you know. So anyway, Cassie figures out how to open the door and gets her dad and Hope back, and then everyone's happy again. Except Scott begins to realize, hey, wait a minute. Kang was talking about a greater threat. Did I screw up? Nah, it's fine. So it's Teehee. Well, of course, then you see the end credits. There's more Kangs and all that sort of stuff. So, of course, they're teasing their ultimate Avengers of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars and all that. Which, will it happen? In some form or fashion, but I guess they're going to have to recast in light of recent events, unfortunately, for Mr. Majors. But then again, will the MCU even survive to get there, considering the sad state it's in? So, some of the elements I was fine with. Of course, they relied too much on humor, but not to the extent of Thor and Love and Thunder. So Love and Thunder did it way worse than this did. So I'll give them that. It's not as bad as I had heard, but, oh, jeez. It's just nobody's in the mood for that crap. If you'd eliminated some of that, if you'd given more thought to your plot and why couldn't Kang do it himself and that sort of thing, it could have been feasible. Would it have been on par with the first two? I don't think so. But you'd have an okay film, and that's better than what you had lately. Oh my God, Thor: Love and Thunder, that was awful. So anyway, that's it. A lot of people decided not to see it. The word of mouth was it was terrible. And it was bad. I don't think it was as bad as people said, but it was bad. So, did you miss anything? Not really. Not really. So, it's unfortunate because, again, I really liked the Ant-Man films. And so, that's just too bad.